Hi, I'm Dan Goldman. I'm a writer, artist, graphic novelist, and now, a voice in your ear. 2 years ago, I started a newsletter, mostly for myself, where I started writing down some of the wildest, funniest, true-ish stories from my tiny little life to entertain old friends and make new ones. I called the series DAN GOLDMAN. But ever since I started, folks keep writing in to say, Dan, you have to make audio versions of these, which I thought was a pretty good idea. So here we are. You're listening to one of them, and it's about to begin right now. Welcome to Dan Goldman, True-ish Stories by Dan Goldman. Hi everyone, it's me, Dan. The story I'm about to read was published September 27th, 2023. It captures events that took place on a family trip to Nassau, Bahamas in 1991. I'm recording this on January 4th, 2026, after a very quiet, reflective, oversleeping holiday season. And so, without further ado, welcome to Bahamian Rhapsody by Dan Goldman. When I started my sophomore year of high school, I transferred to a fancy prep school in Fort Lauderdale that's known as a feeder school for Ivy League universities. I didn't know anyone when I started, and the smallish pool of students who'd been there together since pre-K all seemed like little bonsai trees, pruned and shaped to be fully focused on getting into their dream college, so unlike my friends from the public school system. Also, if I didn't perform academically at a certain level, I was constantly reminded of the waiting list of other bright young things ready to take my seat in the Ivy feeder. A lot of pressure, all at once, and I started to suffer from sleep paralysis. It would come on in the long eye blinks between falling asleep and actually sleeping. Instead of feeling calm and drifting slowly into REM sleep, my body would tense up, and part of my mind would become fully conscious with a jolt inside of my sleeping body. Somewhere in that jolt, the input valve that allows us to limit our sensory input until we can function in society would come all the way loose, and I would be swallowed by a roaring maelstrom of deafening sound, ever-changing random visions of my own life, past, present, and future, and of people I'd never met, like my consciousness was on a mile-long leash wandering the world in 4 dimensions, while my body lay frozen in South Florida. The storm would swell in volume and fury to a fever pitch, at which point I'd usually have an orgasm, which occurred inside the vision and in my physical body back home. Sleep paralysis usually wound up sticky by the end. I've read a lot about sleep paralysis over the years. Many people see a common set of symbols, like a shadowy man in a hat or an old woman laying heavy on your chest, but mine were full of man-eating sharks. My most frequently recurring vision found me inhabiting a sailor's body on a wooden ship in the past. Warm waters, probably not far from where I lay asleep in the present. The ship would be damaged and sinking as I clung to its mast alone, the water rising around me, churning with rising air bubbles and circling sharks. Soon the ship sunk far below me, and there was nothing to hold on to, and the sharks would begin to strike, tearing chunks of flesh off my skeleton until eventually I died. I remember talking about these recurring images with my shitty high school therapist. Shitty therapist. It sounds like you're afraid of something, buddy. Me. Afraid of being torn apart by sharks? Man, you really are an expert. Shitty therapist. It's a symbol of some fear that you're experiencing now in your life, and your subconscious is expressing this fear through the image of a shark. Can you think about something that you're afraid of? Me, rudely imitating him. Can you think about something that you're afraid of? Do you honestly think that's not something I've already examined repeatedly many months before bringing it up in our sessions? I swear your job is easy as fuck. This is amusing because I was a psych major for a year. This guy was the reason. His job seemed easy as fuck. To my mind, the world contained many more layers than just our work home work loop and the navel gazing therapy that unpacks it. Unseen layers of meaning, spirit, time, and non human intelligence. What the shitty therapist missed was maybe this meant something real. Maybe it was a warning of some kind, because sharks are very real. And now we've reached the head of the tale. Sometime in 1991, I took a weekend trip with my family to Nassau, Bahamas. It's just a half an hour away by prop plane. And back then, everyone in Florida had a friend with a condo timeshare in the Bahamas. After a family lunch at a seaside cabana, I took a walk down the beach a ways until I found a shirtless man guarding a row of a dozen Yamaha wave runners. Basically, they're jet skis, but you can sit down. There are a few things cooler. He was renting them for $10 an hour, and I had $10. He asked me if I can swim and gives me the safety talk: how to accelerate, how to turn, how to use the life vest, the fuel gauge, the kill switch. And I'm trying to listen, but there's a long legged girl about my age with long ringlets of hair and chocolate skin in a fluorescent yellow body glove swimsuit, and she just keeps turning over and turning over and turning over again on her towel, and I cannot take my eyes off her. She feels me watching her, and we make the briefest of eye contact, and my entire face flushes hot with loser shame, until fingers snap in front of my face. Jet ski man. You with me, brother? Me. Yep, brother, I'm with you. Totally. Jet ski man. Okay then, 1 hour. Off you go. He slaps a damp orange life vest against my breastbone and points me towards the farthest wave runner. Beyond that is just a mostly empty beach and the unmanned lifeguard station. I don the vest, tighten the kill switch around my wrist, and plug it into the ignition port. With the next wave that reaches the beach, I'm off. It's amazing, loud and fast and super macho. Plus, the spot on the wave runner I have to bear my whole weight down on vibrates not unpleasantly against my perineum, giving me all kinds of delightful, confusing feelings to bring up with my shitty therapist next week. I rip out in a straight line away from the turquoise shallow waters of shore and past an old buoy covered in barnacles that bobs in and out of the waves before it disappears behind me. About a mile offshore, the waves start to get choppier. I don't think this, I feel it. The nose of the wave runner starts dipping down between them, and as the waves slap over the vehicle, I'm getting wetter and wetter. It's warm and sunny out, and the sea is cool, but today I wore my eyeglasses instead of my contact lenses. The salt spray starts to dry on my glasses, making everything starry and blurry. I can't see where I'm going, but I'm afraid to take them off at high speed in case I bounce off some chop and lose them. So I figure I'll just stop a minute and rinse off the salt in the sea. Easing up on the acceleration, I slowly let the wave runner idle for a second to dangle my glasses in the water and rinse off the. A wave slaps the side of the wave runner, spinning its 90 degrees lengthwise and throwing me right off my vibrating seat into deep water. One of the things I should have paid attention to the jet ski man about was the wave runner's kill switch. It's the key to the engine, but it's tied around your waist with a Velcro strap, and if you fall off the jet ski, it gets yanked out. But instead of the engine just turning off and it being carried away from you out to sea, the wave runner begins to circle you slowly so you can climb back on, if you can catch it. So, a mile offshore, the wave runner putters off without me and helpfully begins its slow instinctual circles, leaving me to tread water, bobbing up and down as waves slap my face while I try to keep my mouth above the surface. Every fiber of my being imagining the chunk ripping sharks from my sleep paralysis visions circling under my feet. And now, this full on panic attack has me physically shaking. The only thing I need to do is clear. Like a video game, I have to time myself with the wave runner, trying to keep myself in the right spot when it's time to catch it. It comes around, and my fingers squeal against the acrylic sides, sliding right off. It leaves me behind, and a bigger wave slaps me in the face, flooding my sinuses with burning seawater. Recovering from that, I watch for it to come around again. As it approaches, something slimy but firm slips against my left foot, and I leap out of the water a full 12 feet. When I splash down again, the wave runner's gone around for another loop. The third time, though, I catch it. My heart is pounding like never before, a drum banging out my refusal to be prey to a large, sharp-toothed fish. When my fingers drag across the wave runner's side rails, I dig in and wrench myself towards it until I can wrap my elbow around the seat cushion. It begins listing at a 45-degree angle now, dragging my legs out behind it like bait. Even in the sea, I can feel my own cold sweat. With every ounce of strength in me, I clumsily climb until I can get my legs over the seat onto the footrest ledges. My teeth bared, full action movie. I'm able to plug the kill switch back into the ignition, and the wave runner comes to a stop. I grip both handles for a second, panting with relief when another wave flips us over. I'm thrown back into the water again, but this time I haven't let go of the machine, haven't popped out the kill switch. I'm hanging on to the now vertical side rail for dear life, and as I pull myself back up onto the machine, the whole thing rotates laterally until the side rail silently swings back down towards me, landing with a crack on the bridge of my nose. There's a cartilaginous pop and bright stars before everything goes black. Slowly my eyes open into a deep, bright blue. I hear nothing, but tiny bubbles are rising off me, and I am sinking downwards very slowly. My eyes flick up to the surface, watching the rolling waves from beneath. It's so beautiful. High up above my head, I see my eyeglasses floating away. And I'm aware of shadows moving in the water, all around me. Living things. My eyesight is shit, but I can feel them watching, wondering what I am, if I am also food. My panic is gone. My internal words are gone, replaced by shock as my brain slowly comes back online and computes what needs to be done. It tells my body it needs to breathe, and without thinking, I exhale through my nostrils, blowing out twin mushroom clouds of red blood, scenting the water all around me with distress and signaling to any predators that I am wounded, easy prey. I look up again at the surface, and there's the fucking jet ski resuming its slow kill switch loop, and a voice in my head very calmly informs me, "This is how you die." The shark visions that I had during sleep paralysis weren't symbols of fear, shitty therapist. They were precognitive visions. Warnings. But you're reading this now, so you know that I lived. And that's because I thought I was shark food and without any conscious decision did the only thing that made sense. Gritted my teeth, and I kicked my legs for dear life. I remember the surface coming up at me fast. I remember getting a grip quickly on the first try of that fucking wave runner. I remember not being able to breathe through my nostrils, bloody snot gobbets hanging out like ropes from my nose, into my mouth, down my chin as I wrestled the Yamaha wave runner for control, and then what I don't remember. The recording skips until suddenly I'm driving full speed, roaring right up out of the surf onto the beach. I stand up, wobbling, woozy, slick with my own blood from nose to belly button. My glasses are missing, and everything is a blur, a searing blur, but the sun is on fire, and I'm on the beach. I'm alive. Then I hear a scream, a familiar voice, as a 5'0" blur fills my vision. My mother. Her hands are shaking as they cradle my cheeks. She wants to know what happened, tells me the skin of my nose looks grayish. I run my finger along the bridge of my nose. There's a bump now where the cartilage meets the bone, and the whole thing veers a few degrees to the right now, It's most definitely broken. I don't even care. Tears are sliding down my face and my hands are shaking, but I made it. I made it. My mother sees my tears and assumes I'm simply the vainest boy alive. Mom, don't worry, honey. We'll call a plastic surgeon to fix your nose once we get back to America. Which is, to this day, one of the most American sentences I've ever heard. That night, alone on the timeshare's patio under the moon, I sat thinking about what had happened out there, and nervously, compulsively, wiggled on my throbbing broken nose until something just clicked back into place. Blood began trickling out of my nostrils for a few minutes, but then the pain had completely stopped, and I'd healed just fine.
This episode of Dan Goldman, Truish Stories by Dan Goldman, was written, performed, and produced for Kinjin Storylab by Dan Goldman. That's me. You can follow me on Instagram at Dan Goldman and on Blue Sky at dangoldman.net. Kinjin Storylab is my publishing company, where I also serialize the tropical horror comic series Red Light Properties, which is about haunted Miami real estate, psychedelic shamanism, Santeria, and late capitalism. Yeah, you need to get on that shit too. Our music was composed by Victoria Gianotti Schall. You can follow her on Instagram at techtoymusic, TECTOYMUSIC, and on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/techtoy. Sign up for free to Kinjin Storylab to receive stories and comics in your inbox every Sunday at kinjin.co. That's KINJIN.co. You can also subscribe to this podcast wherever the hell you listen to podcasts. Oh, we've reached the end. Thanks for listening and have a great day out there.